What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Breaking Points, favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Hasbro HasLab Omega Prime. This is from their crowd-funded venture, and is certainly not mine. This is on loan to me from Wade. Shout out to Wade. And you know how cool Wade is? Wade is so cool that he's already sold this, and he sold it to Ricky. But Ricky was cool with me seeing it too. So Ricky seems pretty cool also. I don't know him, but he seems pretty cool to me. But the question is whether or not this thing is cool. And on one hand, I kind of think it already is not, but that's my own personal G1 biases seeping in. On the other hand, there's a question of controversy surrounding this. The breakage, right? The abdomen. It's a crisis. Apparently, Hasbro's been pretty good about supplying replacement pieces and all this sort of stuff. There's also fixes available on your favorite websites of choice, I'm sure. But I'm not in the habit of fixing things around here. I'm in the habit of breaking things, if we want to be honest. But I'm never going to fix something and then review it. Can't do it. It's not an honest review that way. Only way you can review it is to review it the way it comes. Now, with that being said, I am going to use as much caution, extreme caution that I can muster, specifically along the places that are in question. And we'll see how it goes. So buckle up. This one's not for the faint of heart. Let's go ahead and get started. And you know where we start around here. Accessories. Let's start with this guy for our accessories. I don't know his name. Sorry. But let me do a quick size comparison. There he is with two Hasbro figures that I use for size comparisons, a Seeker and Bumblebee. So I would guess, like, you know, kind of the old school deluxe size in that regard. And yeah, let's talk about him. So the head sculpt, we'll get in tight on it for Dennis. We got yellow metallic gold, and then we have blue paint and red paint. The head itself is on a swivel, which is fine. Do we have a waist swivel? We do. Hot dog. Nicely done. We have shoulders. Get you out to a little shy of 90 degrees. Plus the spin around. Bicep swivel. Single hinged elbow. These also like separate, you know, and it's all 5mm ports, so you can do everything you want to do. Because this is basically like just a weapon that he utilizes, I believe, you know. Same for the other side. Hips. Get you out for the full Van Damme. Forward and back for a little shy. Oh, there you go. For the full Monty. Thigh swivel. Thigh swivel. Single hinge knee. Get you the full run. And then you get an ankle tilt up because of transformation. And that's pretty much, you know, the figure element of this guy. To get him transformed, just remove the arms. Open up this blue bit here. Fold his head in, close that up, fold the feet up, rotate the leg to the side, pull the kneecap up and around. I guess you don't have to pull the kneecap up, but you got to rotate this up, make sure that's collapsed down. There is a reverse ab crunch of sorts also, and then make sure that this is all squared away. And once that's up, this piece will come back down and lock it in. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. And then lock it in. And then you want to take the arms and have them so that this port connects here for the truck, right? And I can do the same thing with this one. So make sure that like the port is there. You want to rotate the red bit out to the side. You can rotate that however you'd like. This piece has to face out. You know, and then you have those two things that sit up there. And then you take this. You have two female connections here on where his were. Connect those on top. And now you have, you know, this. And I think actually, sorry, I think this was backward. I think it's supposed to be, yes, like that. And I'll show you why that's important here in a second. It comes with two white missiles, no paint, you know, sculpted well enough. You can attach them to the back of this guy to kind of give that look, which I do think adds something. And the reason why that was important is so that you can take your missiles and load them in here. And I'm not exactly sure which way they're supposed to go, to be honest, but I think this way looks better, in my opinion, but there you go. Then he's all, you know, ready for firing lots of bullets and blasters, bolts, and so on and so forth. Now the arms can plug into the forearm here, It's a tight little connection. And then the red handle can come down, and you can kind of hold these like a blaster, if you'd like. Now, the robot form can kind of hold the whole mounted weapon like this. It's a pain in the nuts, though, I'm going to tell you. The way I did it, I'm going to unpeg this. These two pegs go into those two ports, and then you flip up this blue thing. And then you plug these in. I plugged these in first, and then hooked up the top part to it, and then he's supposed to be able to hold the handle too. It's nightmare fuel, buddy. It sucks. It doesn't work well at all. So this guy is, and we'll talk about it when we get to the figure, but he's pretty hollow. But you can take this thing and untransform it, separate the legs, open this up here, and then you might even have to bend this. I don't know. Take this. There's a peg up here that will connect to the torso, and then you sit this back down. And I'll be honest with you, like, I don't know if it fixes enough of it where it's worth the headache. But I'll try one more time. Either way, you'll get the picture, because you got to have these like collapsed. There, and then fold that up, and you can see how it kind of fills in some of it, but it's not really significant enough to make it memorable, in my opinion. And then on the back, you take his legs, and they connect inside of there, and here. And then you have these. The blue tab goes in to there. You know, you just want to make sure your orientation is right, so, you know. And then lastly, your missiles, I think, are just supposed to go here. Which, I don't know, why bother? But, then you have that all stored up, I guess, if you so desire. Now, the last thing that you can do with this is have this in this configuration where the body's kind of transformed. You know, I did this off camera, but so all of this stuff separates. Just find out whatever way it gets this done, where you can tab in, where you can have the blue translucent on top, the weapons facing forward, red out to the side, bump outs on the blue out to the side, and tabbed in both at this female port here in the gray and at that female port in the light blue, so that it looks like this. And then using these two tabs on both sides, this will come down and sit over top and tab in to combine mode. And I'll tighten that up a little bit, but for like the finished look. So he comes with these two chrome pieces here, and they're both double barrel, chromed out nicely, sculpted well enough, and they go right here on the head of the robot for the fire truck. But they come separate, probably just to protect the chrome, but you just plug them right in, and then you can just sit the head right back down. None the worse for wear. You got this little fella. What's he doing? Hanging out. Little silver paint on the face, maybe some eye paint I can't see from here. I'm getting old. Arms swivel, the arms are painted as well. Chest is painted silver, and he folds up into a head with the silver accents and the gold visor. He also can ride alongside the fire truck right there on the outside. Doesn't seem very safe to me, but he can do it. He comes with this little gun here, gray plastic, red spinny bit. It's pinned, which is at least nice. You can store that in vehicle mode by using these sort of top tabs here, right there, and they'll slide in underneath and just sort of sit underneath the vehicle like that, and then almost look like a winch or something, you know, which I think is okay. And Prime can hold that just fine as well. The gun can also be stored in Super Prime mode on a little peg right here on his backpack. You know, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. He comes with a big, F-off sword. Got silver paint on there, purple plastic. A lot of this stuff is just reverse. Like, these are all, like, you could take this all apart. That's a cost-saving measure. pad printed paint there on the bottom. You do have to assemble a bit of it yourself, so put that in there like that. Then take your hilt, which is a separate piece also, tab that in, and then bring this piece back over. And it's probably a little bit simpler to do when you're not standing behind a camera, but then you have, sorry about that, this huge old handle on that unit. And there's 3 pegs in his hand, and they're supposed to correlate with 3 slots on the sword wherever you should so desire. But I have had a heck of a time getting it to lock in any real meaningful way. But you can at least get his hand around it, but it's heavy, you know, so maybe a 2-hand approach would be best, but it is something you can do. He comes with this blue chrome piece. It is really quite nice looking with the silver accents, and it's mainly just for the front bumper for Magnus. I'll show you how that goes on. So you take the Autobot symbol here, lift it up, and then peg this onto it. And then once you have it on, you just bring it down and then bring these pieces around. It doesn't hold on really nicely on the copy I'm looking at. So I'm going to leave it off because I don't want it to cause any kind of annoyance for me until we have to use it for transformation. You got some display stand options, which is nice. It comes with 2 of these large gray plastic pieces. Got a little bit of sculpted detail going on up in there, up in there. And you can put these together. You can have these pieces come in like little ramps. They can go in. You can put them on both sides if you want just to do the ramps on one. You can do, obviously, the same with this on the other. We might as well just go through it. And then, utilizing these other sections, you got these little kind of like connector pieces. That reminds me of Constructs. Anybody remember Constructs? Shout out to you if you do. Connect those here. And then you have like your kind of display base for a vehicle. Unfortunately, it's not big enough or wide enough to kind of get both on, which I do find kind of obnoxious. But yeah, I mean, it's fine for one, you know, giddy up. Also, your display base, each one comes with like a standing bracket, and you just slide that in. Then there's a peg here that'll go into his backside, and you can have him kind of utilizing the stand. I'll be honest though, I don't know if it's the best fit in the world. There. You know, if you'd like. There's that. Now for Magnus, you want to make sure your stand is facing this way with the cutout facing forward. And they give you an adapter, and you want to make sure that your adapter goes on as well. And then you use those 2, and then they'll plug into the back of Magnus. Once again, I don't think it's really effective, but it will work, you know. And they just plug in right into the back of the tail plate, but it's a little obnoxious to get it in there. But that's how you do it. And then in terms of the stand, if you have the bump out, once again, facing towards the front, you use the top peg. Once again, it's a little bit irritating. But that'll peg in to the back. And then you kind of get your feet situated and all that. But, you know, if you so desire. And of course, there's matrices to be had. One is in here. It is removable. I'm not going to do it, but one is in here behind that chest flap. And one is in here behind that chest flap. Once again, both removable. Lastly, he comes with these 2 gold chrome ears. They didn't put it on to not damage the figure, I'm guessing, and I will follow suit and not put them on until he is combined. But since he is combined, I will go ahead and add them on, and I'll drop one, but you get the picture. They go on both sides of his head, left and right, on the little ears. All right, so let's look at a fire truck. My dad was a fireman, and I grew up around these things, so I'm always kind of into them, but also can be a little critical just because how I grew up. But this is like obviously like a more Eastern model, which is fine. I'm sure that's true to form, but you know, we have to admit, like, America does have the coolest looking fire trucks in the world, but this isn't that. This is fine. Nonetheless, not a whole lot of paint. We do get some pad printed paint there for the Autobot symbol and the Cybertron with, you know, the letters there. Some steps going up to the ladder. Those are really small steps, it seems, but that's fine too, I guess. On the front here, we have blue translucent windows that reveal the seats behind it, which I guess is fine. Silver here for maybe headlights, yellow for the turn signals, C001 Cybertron maybe. And kind of same for the other side, some sculpted details and stuff. All that stuff is cool. On the back here, we have, look like just turn signals, no brake lights or anything like that. But, you know, it's not a very safe vehicle anyway, is it? You got guys riding on the outside. What are you going to do? This also seems like so, like, this is where my upbringing gets me into super nerdy stuff. But, like, so this is like a tower bucket, but theoretically it should be up here so that you would sit more so like this. But it would never, I don't know, always and never, but it would usually not sit like this. That being said, it's probably true to the toy form or the cartoon form or whatever. I mean, maybe even the Eastern model, for all I know. Yeah, the nozzles that come out here, and they're on little ball pegs, which is actually, you know, kind of cool. Fold those around. And then you have all of these missiles here, I guess. They're like a little mohawk of missiles. And these, yeah, and these also come out if you want to, you know, fire them, I guess. You can rotate them back in, fire them. You see what I did there? Let's see. This obviously is on a ratchet, really great ratchet too. And it swivels on a soft ratchet, which is fine. It also extends to that length, you know, and actually you could probably, so this is a little, not the best, but yeah, and then it sits right in front of the windshield, but yeah, you know, it extends. You can do that, you know, and we got some diamond plating there, kind of styling on the top. That's cool. Even the details in here, I think, come through nicely, and then you have the red translucent light bar. That's all cool. You know, it's fine. Oh, get this out of here. Underneath, pretty clean. I actually even dig this. It seems like mechanical. You know, I like when some of that stuff comes through. Yeah, I think this is a pretty well done fire truck. All right, let's work on this guy. So you got to get this into 3 pieces, because this is like the trouble one, right? So we'll start here, see how the rest of the day goes. There's these sections here that untab, and that was not the way I intended for that to go, but here we are. You have this section. We're going to set that to the side. You have this piece here in the middle. We're going to set that to the side. And here we go. Moment of truth, right? So you need to pull these like silver pieces in here. And this seems like a really poor choice to me. But these silver pieces need to come down in order to kind of clear the arms. But it's hard to kind of get to them. But they're right here. They come down. And then these pieces fold out and around. They'll tab back in. And then bring this around until it sits over top of your tires. There we go. So this is on top of the tire. All right, bring your light bars down. Untab your arms. I want to be careful here because this is where it happens, right? You can bring these arms out to the side. And we got to get to the abdomen. I'm going to be very careful to take a look. Okay. All right. So far, so good. Now, let's do the head. So we're going to open this up. We're going to bring the head out. Fold that back up. Fold the chest around. Some guys on Patreon have given me some advice as to how to go about manipulating this. Because I don't have at least one of those ones that's like cracked out of the box, I am going to consult with them and before I do this next step. So I will be right back. The one pointer that they gave me along with a couple others was do not put any pressure on the abdomen when you go to collapse. So I'm just so worried. There we go. All right. We're good. Whew. All right. All right. All right. Look at me. So straighten out the knees, spin it to here, and tuck that around. We want to open up this, flip the foot out, flip the heel out, close this. We're going to do that one more again. And there's a little like, something feels like it's like rubbing up against something there. Doesn't feel good. Once again, we're going to open up the white part there. Flip out the heel. From the toes, or the, and then flip out the heel. I don't have any nails right now. Close that. And then all that's left is the arm. We're going to extend it, turn it, collapse it. Come on, girl. There we go. Extend it, turn it, collapse it. You sort the hands out too. There we go. And I'll clean them up. We'll take a look at them. And we'll get in tight on the head sculpt for Dennis. And it's pretty well done. There's blue metallic paint. There's silver metallic paint. And then the eyes look like a yellow chrome, or gold chrome rather. Works for me. The head itself, just a swivel it seems, which is not the best. But that's what you get, and you don't get upset. My kids' preschool used to say that. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. These chest pieces here are spring loaded, so that's actually kind of cool. You can also get a reverse butterfly because of the transformation. Red paint on the blue translucent there. Looks good enough. Shoulders, you can get up to 90 degrees. 360 around on a universal joint. There's a bicep swivel right above the elbow. Speaking of the elbow, that'll get you 90 degrees. The arms have a blue metallic paint accent on them, and then the hands have a gunmetal metallic paint hand swivel. No issues there. Waist, I'm reluctant to do much else, but there's a little bit of a swivel there, and that's about as far as I'm going to push it. I'm on a cloud 9 right now for not having broken this thing, and I want to keep it that way. All right, then we have our hips here. Huge old universals. Get you out for the full Van Damme. Ratcheted forward and back to there, which is more than you'll ever need. Thigh swivel. There's a shin swivel as well. Knee bend, get you 90 degrees. Nice metallic silver paint here, metallic blue paint here, and then the yellow paint, that looks good. Otherwise, it's just the truck details, and then are gray plastic. Ankles, ball peg. You do get a slight little ankle tilt up, down, and a slight rocker, but not the best. Proportionately not the best, right? It kind of looks like you know, it just all goes to his hips. You know, you can't have those donuts. They just all go to his hips. And then there it is in the back, and you could probably even do something more interesting with these if you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate all that diamond painted, like, paint stuff goes to the back and you lose it, you know, but I think, honestly, even with the silver paint here, there's enough kind of deco stuff here where the figure does pop well enough, to be honest. I don't have any huge issues with that. Now, I know what you're thinking to yourself. What am I going to do with the rest of this? And boy, do I have an answer for you. So, untab this and this, pull this apart. You can set this to the side. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Lift this up. And we need to get these out. So, untab them. We're going to set those pieces to the side for now. We're going to look at these. You can take this here and angle these down. And as you see here, missiles, potentially. Same on this side. Nails. No-inch nails. That's what I got. All right. You got 2 ports here, 2 pegs on the top of the shoulder, and then you can have that look, which apparently has some sort of place in the lore. Articulation-wise, obviously, you're going to lose a little bit. Oh, there's an extra joint there. Let's take a look at that. So yeah, you can get the arms all the way up on that extra joint, which is also ratcheted, which is cool. But yeah, this is just, I think, some sort of ode to the lore, I believe. All right, but if you disassemble them, you can take these, tuck your feet back in, reconnect them. Take your turntable here for your ladder truck, peg that back on. Bring that down. Bring your ladder up, and you have those 2 side rails that you can kind of bring up. Do you know what I mean? We're going somewhere with this. Stand by. And then if you remember, we pulled these 2 pieces apart with his hands. So you have these sections. Turn the hand, because these are now supposed to be kind of like blasters. And then you have your Autobot symbols here. Peg them in underneath. There's like a, I know you can't see that probably, it's not in focus, but, right. And rotate the turret. Then you have another peg, and that will go in to the same gray plastic that the ladder goes into. And you're going to do that on both sides. You know, here's another one. Rotate that. Rotate your guns here. Fold this up. And let's see. Why is this eating me up? Boom. And boom. There we go. And then this pegs in as well. And that's your base mode, I believe. You know, and the only thing that could really finish that off aesthetically for you, I'm sure, is to put old wide thighs in there as well. Voila. You know, now you're cooking. All right, so let's get him prepped for surgery. And there's not a whole lot you got to do. Tuck the heels in if they haven't already tucked themselves in. The head needs to go in. And then we have to manipulate this waist again. So, once again, we're going to use caution. I'm going to pull this backpack away just so I can have a better look at it while I'm doing it. And we need to go out like 1 click. I don't know if that's enough or not. I don't think it is. But we get it. This piece here folds down. and then goes underneath to kind of expand. All right, that was too much. But we'll go ahead and bring this down. Nope. There, maybe that's enough. There. All right, so we're still good. And I think that's all you have to do for this part. Then you got this. Separate them. Open this up. Flip that piece out. All right, so hole in the bottom of the foot, peg there, and then these two clips go around his foot. And I'm not going to mess with this too much. There. That's it. And then there's another peg here at the front that will lock on to the front there, and then this just sits along the side. Let me see if I can have any luck with this one. If not, it goes on the same way. I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time. It's going to be a long video. So I had most luck kind of angling it towards myself and getting that back piece in. Yep, went on like a champ. And then peg that in, and there's your... All right, extend the shoulders here out to the side, and we're going to take this piece, we're going to flip out this gray section here, we're going to make sure that these two light gray pieces are up, and then we're going to insert this on. There is two kind of notches here at the top. They go into the side there. There's these two gray pieces here that sort of latch onto the backpack. I think, and then the big ones that lock onto these two in the front. But these two gray pieces here, if you can really get those to lock in, that's like a good guide. So there's one. Sorry, I know that's off camera. All right, bring this down. So like those are just the gray pieces in that top tab, and that does keep it pretty locked in. And then you just bring this down, and that will really secure it. And then you just fold your ladder down to the back, and then you put these gray pieces back down, and then the head, you just sort of sink into itself. All right, shoulder pads, so they come down female to male here, and then these two bits come around and clip on. Drop down this red section here, and then you just take this. There's two female connections here, two male here, and then fold the wrist over, and then this actually tabs in to the metallic blue here and back into the red piece itself. Same on this side, fold that over. I'll do it one more again. So tab in the shoulder, these come down and tab into the shoulder. Bring this red section down. And then two female connections here, two male connections here. Bring the arm around. This comes in and locks in, flips up. And I think that's it. I'll clean them up. We'll take a look at them. So I'm only going to go over stuff that we haven't gone over yet. I will get in tight on the head sculpt for Dennis. And it looks good. Once again, we have the gold chrome on the eyes, the silver chrome on the ears. They can obviously swivel because you just peg them in. Painted silver over the red plastic. You do get a good head tilt down, a little bit up, and then your swivel. Little bit of confused big head face. All right, moving on to the torso. We have a lot of painted detail. The silver metallic is painted. The orange is painted. The orange looks great, looks vibrant, looks wonderful. The silver on the grates here are painted. You got chrome detailings on the Autobot symbol there. All of that stuff works. Articulation-wise, oh, then you got the blue here on the arm. That looks good. These you can obviously rotate and hinge up and down. Articulation-wise, so you have the shoulder, you lose a little bit, but you still get up way past 90 degrees. With the extra weight, it doesn't hold it really great, to be fair, but what are you going to do? And then you get the swivel around still. You still get the reverse butterfly. The wrist swivel, they hinge in out. The thumb hinges, and then the fingers are on a base pen knuckle. You do get typewriter fingers, which isn't the best. The waist, you still get your waist swivel, so that works nicely. And then the hips and knees are going to be the same. Ankles, you just get the rocker. But it's better than nothing, right? And then there he is from the back. He is obviously a little bit back heavy, but it can be overcome, I think. I hope. But yeah, and I forgot to do a size comparison with it's actually becoming more and more troublesome. These feet aren't supposed to come out, are they? No, that would be ridiculous. Oh well. Let's just do that for now. Size comparisons with the smaller Prime. Sorry about that, but I will get something with this guy. You know, I don't really have a whole lot of mainline stuff, but there he is next to a Hasbro Seeker as well as a Hasbro Bumblebee. So, I mean, he's big, you know, like he's a significantly sized robot. So hopefully that gives you some sort of an idea, you know. Looks good. Moving on to this guy, and I didn't show a size comparison, but there it is next to Masterpiece Tiger Tracks. So you can go up there. I mean, it fits. Just kind of crazy. You can have these bits. Oh, sorry, not that. Come down. And if you have a car that's small enough, you can kind of roll up in there. You know, all kind of like car carrier gimmicky stuff. You know what I mean? Other than that, the rest of this, I guess, is fine. We have painted blue window here, translucent blue window here, not unlike what we saw with the X-Transbots First Aid recently for combine mode. That's not a great way to accomplish business there. Metallic blue looks good there. The chrome Autobot symbol once again looks great. Silver paint on all the wheels. Sculpted detail. The back here with the silver brake lights, turn signals, all of that looks good. Almost looks like a Mercedes-Benz sign there. Underneath, pretty clean. You know, like, you know, it's not the prettiest vehicle in the world, but I don't think it ever was design-wise, so it's probably true to form. Rolls like a champ. What more do you want? Let's get it transformed. Once again, we got to get it separated. So let's take these pieces. They come up and over, and these side pieces here, they come around to the back. And then underneath here, we have where these tires are, like a notch system that needs to rotate down on both sides, and that will allow you to separate these two. We'll do the legs first. Move the feet down. Get these out. Move the feet back up. And these gray pieces swing around to the opposite side on both sides. And here, this needs to come to the back here, right? Yes, and then come up and peg in. Come to the back here. Peg in. You can separate these. Bring up this. Rotate that in. Come down here to the feet. Open this blue tab up. This foot will slide out and down and then slide back. Once again, resecure all of this. And that's one done. Same on this side. Bring this out. Rotate the pelvis in. Undo this blue piece here. Rotate or slide the foot down. Then slide the foot back. Bring this back. Make sure everything plugs in. And then these two sections come in and tab together. All right, so I got this chrome piece on pretty solid now, and I'll tell you how I did it, but I hate everything about it. So this has to come up and over, and then these pieces tab onto the side. Now, what I suggest you do is tab these pieces onto the side of the truck and then push the Autobot symbol down. That's the only way that I was able to get it. All right, what do we got here? We got to open up some of this stuff. These blue pieces here, you got to open up, and then the white pieces tab into the back there. All of this opens up. The wheels slide up into the forearm. They come around here and tab back in. And this piece comes down, and the head untabs from the chest, comes up, spins around, tabs back into the chest. Then for his backpack, separate these two pieces, bring them around. This comes up and over. Make sure that you collapse these. Jeez whiz. You see there's like a hole here and a peg. They're supposed to line up. There we go. There's one. God bless. There's two. And this comes up and around. These come out to the back. This has to like fit in because there's these two gray slots here that align with these two tabs that are white there. And then the light blue pieces fold around, and then these just sit back behind his head like decoration. Then you have two grooves here, two rails there. Slide it in. And I think that's it. I'll clean it up and take a look at it. So we'll get in tight on the head sculpt for Dennis, and of course you could have that other robot tucked up in there and fill out all those gaps and stuff, but we've already seen that, so let's just keep it moving. We have gold chrome on the eyes, gold paint on the Autobot crest there, that's done well, white paint on the face. The head gets up a little bit, side to side. I'm sorry about the background noise, my neighbor is having their house power washed, I think. No waist swivel because of the connection point. So that's a bit of a bummer. We do have nice blue and silver details painted on the chest here, so no issues there. I'm gonna lower the camera just a little bit. We have shoulders that get you out to 90 degrees and 360 around on a butterfly joint. Bicep swivel, single hinged elbow, wrist swivel, fingers on a base pin knuckle, thumb on its own hinge. So no issues there. All right, let's get these out of the way. We have, try to back out now. Oh, nope, we're backed out. So, ratcheted universals for hips get you out for the full Van Damme. Nothing really back, but you do get a good bit forward. Thigh swivel. Actually a pretty good knee articulation because you got all that hollowness there in the back of the leg. And then you got an ankle rocker. And that's about it. Nice, the details for the back of the truck come through nicely on the knee pads. And there it is from the back. I mean, without that other robot kind of filling in some of the gaps, it is really kind of incomplete, both from the top and the back. But, you know, they do have that option, and it does help a bit, you know, so there's something to that. So let's do some size comparisons. There he is next to a Seeker and Bumblebee. So once again, you know, significantly sized bot. And there he is next to the Prime. So they're about the same size, which I believe is, you know, the intention. So good to go. All right, so I've already separated this from how we showed how it went together and then separated these into two just to make it a little easier for me. This comes back down and pegs into the back here. And this gray section comes up. It has to tab back in all together. It has to like be pretty flat. We'll get back to that here in a second. This piece has to come down. This piece comes down. There's a small little blue section that forms down there. That tabs in. Then this piece comes down to the back. The toes extend. And then this piece comes up. And you can, I don't think you want to tab all this together quite yet, but you can see how that all collapses. And I think this piece needs to be on the inside here. So I'll show it again. It's a little confusing. So this piece comes down, pegs in, this gray piece comes down, the foot is connected to a section that comes down, and the foot slides apart. There's a little piece here that has to fold forward, plug into the bottom there. This piece comes back around to the back, and then you're just left with this. Fold this up, that tabs in. I think this has to come to the front there, and then fold these pieces around on themselves, you know, and you got two legs. Next thing we're gonna do is open up these forearms here, and they completely separate off of the core bot. And then we can set these off to the side. Now this is kind of a mess to show, and it doesn't really turn into anything meaningful, so if I have to adjust it when we go to combine it, we'll just adjust it along the way. But open this up, take the head, spin that around. Some of this, like, I need to, like, all right, so this flips back, right? And the head sits inside of that little cavity there. And then these, well, we'll leave those alone for now, but these come down here. All right. Then we have this piece and this piece. And I think that's just it for that. And then we have these sections. They come around to the back here. And then sit down towards the bottom, I believe. Once again, it's like, it's such an abstract shape. It's hard for me to stay completely oriented. Let's see what else. These flip up. Maybe we should get these out of the way. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Not a fan of this here. Okay, this flips up to reveal his head, and this section flips around to the front and notches in to the chrome piece. And then we kind of want to just have this sitting out of the way. Then these pieces also rotate up to the top. And I think these have to collapse in a way where they sit. Like if you look at the bottom of these, there's like a slot that connects to that. And it's just a matter of getting it lined up properly. And there's like a lot of moving pieces back there. There's one. And then this blue piece comes around and grabs a hold of that one. And there's the other. It's not quite, this one's not right at all. But I'll fix that up and we'll move forward. And this, I'm not sure if this sits here or here. Like I said, this part is so abstract, but we'll get through it. So let's start building. We have the foot that goes in here. As you can see, I've stripped him down, by the way. So to speak, all the power armor stuff is gone. The abdominal area is still the same size, so I haven't changed that. The head is still tucked away. The foot fits right inside of this little cavity here. And then there's a gray piece that comes up over top here. That pegs in. There's a blue piece in the back that pegs into the back. That pegs in. This gray piece wraps around to the front. That pegs in. And then this, just keep in mind, this is on a double hinge down here to adjust your height. But that's on like a T, almost like a T groove and a peg. And that pegs in. All right, so we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to get the foot seated first. We're going to tab in the back. And then we're going to bring our gray piece around to the front. Or the side, rather. And then we're going to bring this gray piece around to the front. And then we're going to bring this gray piece up and tab in 2 sections, which should really secure her. Now we'll connect the hands. The thumb kind of works as a peg that the core bot kind of holds, almost like a gun. Wraps around, and then all of this stuff wraps around. There's all sorts of connection points. Just find them and connect them. That's one. Same thing for the other side. Utilize that handle. Bring it down. And that's 2. All right, and then this last piece, but one thing I didn't mention was these red pieces need to fold out. All right, so what we need to do, and this is kind of a moment of truth thing, we have 2 slots here. We have 2 pegs here, 2 slots here. We're going to start there. And I'm going to get down here. There we go. All right, then hopefully you can still see this. 2 pegs here that latch into the front, just like the Super Prime mode. All right, and then this piece here has 2 pegs, and it needs to collapse up and over. So that they sit into the chest. Let's see what else we got to do, because we're not over. All right. This comes down, forms over the shoulder. Same over here. And then on the back, we have to peg in this backpack piece into that section. And then this comes up. These pieces swing in. And they sort of lock in place. And then this comes down and sits over top. And these are just tucked in the best you can. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I will clean it up. We will take a look at it. And we'll get in tight on the head sculpt for Dennis. Silver paint on the face looks good. Metallic, no, chrome blue eyes look good. The head does get you a little bit down, a little bit up, but limited on both. Swivel's good. Confused face works well. No issues there. Let's back out a little bit, lower the camera a little bit, and continue. So the shoulders, you know, they're just like capes that sit over top of the actual shoulder, it seems to me. So the real working shoulder is the same underneath, so nothing has really changed there, including the bit of a reverse butterfly. Same for all the arm articulation. The only thing that's new here is the hands. You do get a wrist swivel, hollowness in the top of the hand, which is unsightly. Fingers on the base pin knuckle and then a secondary knuckle, they're all the same. And then the thumb on a sideways hinge. Same for the other side. You still get your waist swivel. That's still intact, so that's good. Knees and everything is still the same. Nothing's going to impact that any differently because it's just the same bit of business. The only thing that's different here is the ankles. So you get an ankle tilt down to a ridiculous extent. Nothing really up. And a bit of a rocker. Not a crazy one, but a little one. You know, so not a whole lot to talk about in terms of articulation outside of what we've already discussed. A lot of this cape stuff, I'm not really feeling. I'm not feeling this sitting over top. I'm not feeling the shoulder stuff sitting over top. I'm not feeling this sitting over top. And that might be true of the toy and the history of the toy and all that stuff. I don't know anything about that stuff. I'm just telling you how I feel about it if I were to have spent, you know, a significant amount of money on this, aside from, you know, kind of the other like QC stuff and other stuff. But that'll get more so into final thoughts. So let me show you what he looks like from the back. I also I went and checked out Piaw's video because I didn't know exactly what to do with these. And he has his like this. Like this, like that. And I think that is far more effective than what I did. So I would take his advice and do that. He also said on there that might have been his last review, and you know, salute to that dude, man. Thanks for all of his work and stuff. You know, he was one of the trailblazers. And I think he was always kind of one of the more fair, you know, reviewers when I started, the ones that were kind of more, at the very least objective, if not opinionated, and certainly not trying to sway you any kind of way, just sort of giving you a rundown. So salute to that dude, man. Seems like he's happy and content going to do something else, and nothing wrong with that. But there he is from the back, and I think that's relatively clean, so to speak. So let's start wrapping this up. Let's do some size comparisons. And finally, size comparison-wise, there it is with Starscream and Bumblebee. What a day. All right, so, yeah, let's wrap her up. I'm giving myself credit for 2 on that one. We're up to 23. Final thoughts-wise, let's start with the negative. Obviously, the biggest issue is the QC issue that's plaguing many. I can only speak for the copy that I have. I know some of them are even arriving broken. I used a lot of caution and reserve, and mine is still intact as of right this second. But it's unacceptable specifically for a crowd-funded event for that sort of thing to be happening. However, I am grateful that they seem to be taking care of people. I'll have more about that on Sit Down Saturday this week. Moving on. I don't like all the capes. I don't like the capes over the shoulders. I don't like the capes over the torsos. I don't like the capes over the pelvises. I don't like the capes. Like I said, it might be true to form. It might be true to the history of the toy. Don't know, don't care. I don't like it. Especially for, once again, a crowd-funded event. Doesn't seem like the right choice. Seems less than. And it really should seem more than. The sword, while cool, is a bit of a burden, very hard to get to work in any real meaningful way, and too heavy for most of the joints to support. There's things that I didn't expect to see on this in odd places, like the hollowness on the top of the hands, and even the general shape and execution of the fingers. This doesn't seem dialed in the same way that the previous HasLab offerings have felt. This seems like it's like gotta sit in the oven for 10 more minutes or so. Little things like the gun accessories not pegging into the forearms nicely and appropriately. Just little things I don't expect with Hasbro. Hasbro kind of gets the fit and finish stuff sort of down pat. You know, they just take a lot of shortcuts for cost saving measures because it's a huge corporation, blah, blah, blah. So the sun don't shine if sun don't shine. But in instances like this, they've always kind of seemingly taken the high road, or maybe not always, but mostly. And here it seems like they took the high road 85% of the time. And the other 15%, they kind of chalked it up to good enough. And I think I would have preferred them not take that approach. Moving on to the positives, the transformation is really pretty straightforward, and the connectivity is pretty solid. All the parts pretty much plug in appropriately and lock together nicely, and it's fairly well balanced. There's an appropriate amount of paint that comes through, doesn't outshine the rest of the line, but looks a little bit more premium than the rest. It does all the things it's supposed to do with the different iterations of the characters, and then obviously the two combination sequences. Has a lot of really good ratchets in the hips, as well as like the turntable for the fire truck. The chrome detailings were really a nice touch and really helped push it over the edge of making something seem meaningful. Materials are decent enough, with the exception, obviously, of that build condition that's causing people all the heartache. But, you know, in recent times where I've looked at a lot of those, like, Power Master Primes, this, I feel like, connects and combines far greater than most of them do, if not all of them. So, yeah, it's probably my least favorite HasLab offering so far in regard to the Transformers line specifically, but it's still probably good enough to squeeze by as long as you don't break it, or it doesn't come broken. But more on that this Saturday. There's one other thing I want to talk about before I leave, and that is the fact that the interaction with this toy is an experience. All of the different things it does and how it integrates all of the pieces and learning it all, and it is an experience in a way that's very unique from most other Transformers experiences. Like, it's involved. It forces you to commit to it, and there's something to be said for that. Anyway, hope that helps. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.